Hello, Internet. I think that we're live right now. I am Brett Gleason, and I'm here with my friend Flo. And this is a patron conversation. You don't know what that is, but I'm going to tell you. I am chatting with my friends and my supporters in the Patreon. And this is Flo. You want to say hi?
Hi guys. This is really cool because Brett and I have communicated for several years now, but this is the first time we've ever actually chatted, other than texting. So this is really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, we've known each other for how long now?
I was trying to think last night. I was recalling. I can't remember if it was just before I started playing guitar or right after. So that would be almost 4 years. So
You've only been playing guitar 4 years?
not even it'll be 4 years in September.
Oh, I love that. I love that you picked up the guitar as an adult. Let me.
I had taken music lessons years ago.
Yeah. So I guess before we get too into it, because I did just confirm that we're live and 3 people are watching. So basically, I did do one Patreon conversation previously on Instagram with Paolo. So Patreon is how I create music. It's how for the last 3 years, I've been writing songs and sharing them. And it's also how people who are interested have been hearing about it, and through small monthly increments have been funding it. So, whether it's $1 or $3 or $5 a month, that's how I've been getting in the studio and how the new album is going to be finished. So I've actually just got the mixes. So excited. I'll share them soon. And so all that has been going on.
Nice.
And Flo, you've been in the Patreon for I've been doing it for 3 years. So you've been in for at least 2, maybe almost from the start.
Maybe, yeah. I'm trying to think exactly when you and I met up, but I remember you sending me a message on Twitter with a link to a live, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's so cool. I love this.
So thank you. I love it. So we did meet. We met in that's probably 2017.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It would probably right about then. So
yeah. So we met on Twitter.
Yes.
Which you are sadly not on anymore.
No, and I don't miss it. I really don't. I can remember when it used to be a fun place to be, and now it's become so toxic and negative, and it just seems like there's always some sort of turmoil. And at first I was kind of like, oh, I kind of, wish I could get back on. And then the longer I've been away from it, the less I miss it. So,
yeah.
And the people that I really care about and they really care about me, we've reached out to each other and we're still in touch. So it's all good. So
yeah, that's good. So when we connected, you had just started playing guitar then, and I sent you one of my few songs that are guitar based.
Right, and I remember being, oh my gosh, you took a guitar in the ocean. What the hell?
And did that were you just scandalous?
Yeah, I think I sent you a message at some point saying, please tell me that was like a junk guitar.
Well, the funny thing is, I actually, so this is that. Oh no, this isn't that guitar. This is that guitar. So I used the live guitar in the live stream this Wednesday.
Okay.
Because this is the guitar that I've been using, and I fell off my bike coming home.
Oh no.
And it fell and broke. So I was right before a guitar lesson, and I was like, oh, I need a guitar to teach this lesson. And I went into my closet, and I had assumed the live guitar wasn't working because it's been sitting in my closet with sand on it. There's literally sand in the gears. I was trying to.
Oh no.
And I was trying to tune it before this lesson, and it did actually tune, and none of the strings popped, and it actually,
wow.
I really, I forgot how much I like this guitar.
It doesn't sound bad.
No, and I got it when I was 15, and
oh, wow.
It has sentimental value.
Right, right.
So, luckily I still have that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Not funny that you broke your guitar, but.
I mean, better my guitar than me. I've had bad luck on it lately. So
yeah, not that long ago. I remember
I know, but I was like going in and out of cars, and you have the guitar on your back, and it like throws your balance off, and I
I
just
never
went,
thought about that. Yeah.
it's my fault. I'm silly
Yeah.
me. So, so yeah, so we connected on Twitter, and I had sent you my music video, and you are you're kind of a music aficionado. I feel like you love music, and we've
Mhm.
chatted a lot about like music that we love and music we've connected over. So like music
Yeah.
seems to be a big part of your life.
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
remember one of the things that we really connected on was we were both huge Smashing Pumpkins fans. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge influence of mine. And so
yeah.
I'm curious, like, I mean, like Smashing Pumpkins, we've talked about Smashing Pumpkins, we've talked about Courtney Barnett. But you've also like embraced my music and come to support me. And like, those are all big tier artists. And I'm like pretty anonymous. Um,
Yeah.
and so, like not a lot of people listen to indie artists and not a lot of people support indie artists. So I'm curious if you like support or follow other kind of like anonymous artists like me.
Yeah, some of them are local.
Yeah.
There's a band called the Labra Brothers. If you get a chance, check them out. They're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know Diana Chittister. I met her, oh, it's probably been 2 years ago. She was an opening act for the Gin Blossoms.
Oh,
And a
cool.
friend of mine was familiar with her. And so I've gotten to be friends with her too. It's really cool how some of these people I knew them as musicians first and then became friends with them.
Yeah.
Or, I'd gone to see a show and became friends with them. It's just, yeah, I just think indie artists are important. Everybody's an indie artist at some point. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. We all start out that nobody knows us, just trying to get our stuff out there and get it heard. And
Yeah.
we've got to keep promoting each other. And
Yeah. I mean, even now I remember like when I started out, I was all just like, oh, I need to get on a label. I need to do, get support, get something big. And after doing this for 10 years, I'm kind of just like, oh, actually, like, I really don't want to be on a label. I just have to keep kind of growing little by little, which is
that's interesting too, because that's sort of Diana's attitude about it was the same. And she started her own label. I mean, she took it another whole step, and she's done very well for herself and is continuing. I mean, it's hard right now. Everybody's struggling with COVID and all the restrictions and stuff. But yeah, I think getting identified with a label is just that's old. That's old news. I think it's like Justin Bieber is a perfect example of somebody who had no label for how long. He was making YouTube videos and he's huge. So, the whole landscape has changed so much.
I mean, there's part of me that wants to be on a label because I want that like stamp of recognition where it's like a company is like, yes, this is official, this is good. I'm going to make him a Wikipedia page and like put our branding on it. And that would make me feel good about myself. But what makes me feel really good, even better about myself is when people like actual humans like my music and, want to support me and join the Patreon for a few bucks a month. Like that's way more important than someone, in a suit with a label who probably doesn't understand the way the new music industry works. So
yeah, and it takes a little bit more effort on their part to find you. It's not like mainstream radio. We have a really good station in our area. Unfortunately, where I live, I'm sort of just far enough out, I can't always get it clearly. But it does a lot of promotion of indie artists and local artists as well. And it's really cool because you get exposed to all sorts of music. I love it. So.
Yeah, and you're in Pittsburgh or just outside Pittsburgh?
We're north of Pittsburgh. We're like sandwiched in between Pittsburgh and Youngstown. And this channel, I think they're based out of Akron or like somewhere around the Akron, Kent, Ohio area. So it's just enough that sometimes you can't pick it up. I don't think because they're a little channel, they have a real strong signal or a good tower that they bounce off of. And, weather can affect it and all of that. It's funny because my friends are all like, I'd really like to listen to it, but I can't always get the signal. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the nice things about a smaller town or a smaller city is they do kind of pick up on smaller artists, local artists, and independent artists. Whereas like here in New York, unless you're really doing like a small internet station, the radio stations and the venues for the most part are going to be playing larger artists. There's going to be
Right.
through here, and unless you really can play at that level, you're going to be kind of sidelined.
Yeah.
So like being an indie artist in a bigger city like this is really not very tenable.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be fun. It can definitely be a lot of fun, but it's not really super tenable, which is why, I've sort of segued into being like less on the scene and more cover down, be here, being live, release my music. And especially like in the last year in the pandemic, I'm just live stream, I can make my music and I can kind of do it from anywhere.
Right. I think a lot of people are finding that too. I'll be curious to see once things loosen up how many people continue to use that as part of their whole thing where they never did before.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like, I went to a show last night and it was so great. Like, it was so great to see my friends play and be out.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But then I was kind of like, I mean, part of me was like, oh, I really want to be on stage. But then I was also kind of like, I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, that's sort of how we are too. It's like, I don't want to be around a whole bunch of people, but I really do want to play. Gianna and I managed to get to rehearse last weekend, and we're hopefully going to this weekend again too. But we have no idea when we're ever going to have any place to play. So,
I mean, for now, it's like I don't feel super, super comfortable hardcore promoting a show,
Right.
There are so few venues that like it's hard to kind of like there's a lot of competition for the shows. And honestly, like, especially with the new album finishing up, I'd rather just wait until the new album is done.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
And then go with that. And it's also like, I really like doing the live streams, and it's like I get the same amount of people showing up at a live stream than I would at a show in person. And it's like
lugging your keyboard somewhere, and you can wear your shorts and a t-shirt if you feel like it. And
and like, I mean, I definitely miss being in person and performing for people and having that energy. But also, like, as a solo artist, like, live shows can be a huge money suck for me. Like, it's one thing.
I think a lot of times they're more of a money suck than people realize. I just got into it with somebody last week on Facebook. We have a club here that has been very, very supportive of not just local musicians, but they'll bring them in from other areas too.
Yeah.
And they're just getting ready to reopen now with all the restrictions being loosened and everything. And right in their initial thing was, we aren't going to start out with live music right away. It's a few months down the road because they're a nonprofit organization, so they qualified for no aid. So they have nothing to fall back on. I mean, they've been very fortunate that people have donated money and stuff. And this person was all like, well, we need live music and we need it now. And I'm like, honey, you don't realize what all goes into the backside of all of that. You're going to pay that musician whether 10 people show up or 100 people show up. You've got licensing fees and all of that other stuff. Yeah, it's just...
The licensing fees is a lot. I mean, here in New York, they just don't pay the musicians.
Well, there are some places that don't pay very well either around here. I was stunned at some of the prices that some of my friends I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, these were well-known area bands.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as someone who plays original music, it's like, I mean, first of all, as a solo artist, if I play solo, whatever. But if I play with a band, which for my music, that's really how I like to do it, especially if it's an event. It's like I hire a drummer, I hire a bassist, I hire a synth player, and that's, pay each of them because I'm their employer for the night. It's my gig. And then, you get booked at the venue. And in New York and a lot of big cities like this, it's like, maybe the cover is 10 or 15 bucks and the venue will take the first 10 tickets. And then maybe you get all the tickets after that. But odds are it'll be like they'll take a percentage of the next 10 and then a smaller percentage of the next 10. So it's like you got to bring out 50 people to make money, any money. And for me, I got to bring out like 100 people to make back. So it's a fun thing I do to bring community in, but I can't do it more than like twice a year,
Yeah, I mean, it's expensive. How does that saying go? You lug $5,000 of equipment to make $50 for the night.
So especially like after doing this for 10 years, I'm kind of like, okay, well, what are my priorities? And what kind of artist do I want to be? Am I like a live gigging artist? I mean,
Right.
so much. No, I'm a recording artist. I'm like a content creator. And when I have big releases, then I go out and I make an event, and it's a lot of fun. But that's not how I make any money.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, sometimes I don't know how anybody makes any money, to be honest at it. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that like I teach, and that's a skill that I've developed from a young age. Like I coach gymnastics, and then I teach music, so like that covers me for like living expenses. So then like, with the Patreon, that all goes to music. So I'm fortunate to have that. And like same with like when the pandemic hit here, so many of my artist friends had to leave because they were like, they had service jobs or they had just performance jobs, and all that dried up. So I could still teach. So, like I'm able to do that. And same with like, for now, everything in the Patreon goes to a bank account, and I save it. And now with the album, it's like, it's all going towards that. But honestly, if it weren't for the Patreon, I would have to figure out like, okay, I have to write songs for commercials. I have to write a jingle. Like I have to write a song that's going to get picked up by a show on Netflix. Like right now, the best way to make money is to, if you're a big enough artist, you have branding, you have, you partner with a company, you get sponsored, you get sponsored by Red Bull, it's honestly, it's not the kind of artist that I want to be. I always want to be funded by my supporters, because I'd so much rather be accountable to them than anyone else. And I also don't see like, you see also all these artists, because the value of music is nothing these days. Well, one, they still have to keep releasing it, because that's how they remain memorable. Like they have to stay
they want to be in the eye. They want to keep
they still have to constantly churn out music. Which means that they can't spend a lot of time on it. So it's not going to be as good quality, and they're not going to make money on good music, but they have to still keep making it. So they're going to make
everything ends up being trendy instead of being well written and well thought out.
Yeah, which is like, they're not going to make money on it either, but they have to keep releasing stuff. And they keep releasing stuff so that they can be remembered, so that they can, get sponsored for something to get on that next tour. Or, honestly, it seems half the time these days, it's like, music is just one part of the artist's brand. And then they're also in movie. They use the music to get famous so they can get into a movie. Like Harry Styles released his second album years ago at this point, and now he's just acting in movies because he's hot right now and he has to make his money.
Right.
And like, I don't blame him for it. But if I were really a big Harry Styles fan of his music, not just pictures of him or, content of him holding a girl's hand or something, I would be kind of like, hey, where's that album?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's a strange world. And it's taken me a really long time to make this album. And if I had a label, they'd be like, it has to come out. It has to come out. And it wouldn't be what I want. Fortunately, but that at the same time, I feel guilty it's taken so long, because all of you have been funding it and being very patient along the way. But it's going to be really good.
Yeah. But I have found the whole process interesting as a musician, but I've never written anything. That was one of my questions for you too. Like when you start writing on something, what do you start with? Do you start with the music? Do you get this melody in your head that you're like, oh, I have to go over to the piano? Or do you start with the lyrics first?
That's a good question. And I find that I get that a lot, and I never have a super satisfactory answer to it. So so many artists, I mean, so many like music coaches and like managers, they're always like, you should always be writing. You should sit down and write. And like, it should be, you know, a thing that you just always do. And so like, but I don't necessarily do that. I always have like a string of I always have a string of ideas ready to go. And so like, I will say that like the voice memos, like I don't actually know. Voice memos on an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone anymore. So I use like an app where I just like, I get ideas for melodies a lot.
Okay.
Or I get like a phrase that won't leave my brain, you know?
Okay.
So, but it always happens at the most inopportune time. You know, it'll be like 4 a.m. and I'll wake up and it'll be just like something going through my mind and I'll be like, not now. And I'll just grab my phone and be like, you know?
That's like that episode of Seinfeld where he writes something down in the middle of the night and then he's trying to figure out what it said for like days afterwards. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comedians writing jokes on cocktail napkins. And
right.
Yeah. And so like, you know, right now I have, let's look in my app. I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have about 9 song ideas in here. And so like for me, you know, my focus has been on finishing the album. And, you know, now that I've pretty much done all the work I can do, I'll probably start listening to these voice memos and be like, what sounds promising? What's interesting? And then I'll go to an instrument, you know? Very rarely do I start at an instrument. But I mean, a lot of people do. For me, what really appeals to me about a song are the lyrics. That's very, very important to me. So that tends to be where I see. What appeals to you about a song? What draws you in? I feel like that's where you should start. You know, it's different.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to say.
Yeah, because I mean, you're primarily a guitar player right now, so maybe that's like the thing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
it's interesting for me. I don't know, because like there are some songs that it's like the lyrics suck you in, and other things it's like, oh, I really like that chord progression or that beat or whatever. You know, it's
yeah.
So I guess it doesn't. There really isn't a good set answer because there's so many different influences.
Yeah, I will say this is not how I started songwriting, and when I do songwriting with my students, this is not how I do it.
Okay.
When I
need to take a class off you with your songwriting once you get settled. We'll have to do that. Yeah,
it'll be so fun. I mean, we are gonna learn live soon, so that would
yes, we would do a lot of work on that.
With songwriting, I usually start with the music, and I'll be like, I mean, granted, I work with usually kids, but it's just like, hey, like let's make a pattern with chords, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like we take a pattern. And it's like, I mean, this is if it's on guitar, and then it's just like, let's hum between the chords, you know?
Just that's a good idea.
Hum anything. What do you like? What do you feel? What do you hear? And then, you know, like, don't even worry so much about the words right away. Just sort of strum and hum. And like, to be honest, like the lyrics are really important for me, but the lyrics are not very important for most people. So I wouldn't even get too caught up in the lyrics first. And then I would sort of sing whatever words fit into those humming at first. Like, because that's what always get people really caught up. Like the lyrics are what gets people really caught up. So I never start with lyrics with my students. I start with, especially because it's mostly instruments that I teach. So I'm like, pick some chords, go with it. Sounds good? Good. Now hum. Okay, that sounds good. Good. Now what, like, random words fit into the hums? Great, just go with that for now, and then eventually we might change the words. But especially at first, like everyone gets really intimidated, and I'm just like, let's just write a throwaway song. It's a practice song, and then all of a sudden, like 3 weeks later, it's the best song in the world, you know? Yeah. It's just so scary to get started, you know? No one wants to write the first draft.
Yeah.
But
I get that because, you know, as a writer, you know, not necessarily printed, but as a blogger, those first couple ones, you're like, oh gosh, I'm putting that out there. What are people going to think? Are they going to be like, oh, this is terrible? Or, And you don't know what to expect, and yeah, you just have to go with it and hope
Yeah,
for the best.
getting started is the hardest. Our critics are so mean.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though that people that write and write the music and the lyrics. I think of people like Elton John and Bernie Taupin. I mean, one does one part and one does the other. I think that would even be more difficult.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you're passing something. I mean, it's sort of like it's your baby and you're passing it on to somebody else to finish it. I don't know if I could do that.
I can't imagine. Like I would like to co-write with someone just out of curiosity, but I can't imagine it. What I really want to do, like, with the next record is just co-produce with someone, because like I produce everything. It takes so long.
Yeah.
So, like, when I will say there are so many producers out in LA, and that is one thing I would like to kind of get a good collaborator for production. But
somebody sort of has a similar vision as what you have for your music.
Yeah, and maybe something slightly different moving forward, because it's like I did 2 albums that are just like, they're a little bit different, but they're all very much in my vision. So I'm ready to kind of try something a little different.
Yeah. That's cool. I know Gianna and I, we bounce a lot of ideas back and forth and stuff. And it's worked out really well because we have a very similar outlook on things and similar personalities. But, I think it'd be hard if you got somebody that maybe just didn't.
Yeah. I tried co-writing with a friend once, and I sent her the first start, and then she never did anything else with it. And I'm like, that's why I'm a solo artist.
Yeah, you rely totally on yourself, and if anything goes wrong, you only have yourself to blame.
Like, even as a kid, whenever I'd be in a group, for school, I would just end up doing everything myself. I mean, I'm that kind of Capricorn, Virgo, Earth sign. I'm just like, just give it to me. I'll do it all. Yep. I don't even need the credit for it. Just let me do it.
I totally understand.
Well, let me ask you one other question before we finish.
Okay.
So, seeing as this is a patron well, let me ask you. Can I ask you a few Patreon focused questions? Sure. I am always curious about the platform. One, I will say, do you support or follow any other artists on the Patreon?
Diana Chittister.
Oh, cool. So she has one.
Yeah, she didn't start hers until last year. Actually, it was just before the pandemic started, and she decided to start it, and then she started using it more because of the pandemic. So.
Good timing, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people jumped on in the last year or so. Yeah. Does she use it differently than me in a way that I might? Cool.
She used it. Partially, she used it for lessons as well. She teaches guitar.
Yeah.
And she did a whole series on teaching a song. And I think it's not at a tier I'm paying for, but in order to get to that song, you had to pay the higher tier, which was kind of a cool way. I mean, to get people to increase their donations and stuff.
Sure.
But she's not as into it, I don't think. And I don't know if it's just a matter of she's still sort of feeling her way through it, or she and her partner just bought a house this past year, and that's taken up a lot of their time too. And I think she knows, hey, I don't have any gigs, I don't have anything going on, I'm going to work on the house.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's part of it, but yeah, her approach is totally different, which is cool. I think it's fun to see how different people are using the platform too.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad to hear you say that I'm into it. I do love it. Yeah, I've seen lots of people do lessons on it, and I feel like that's cool, but how many of the people who follow me are musicians?
Right.
There are always fun ways, there's always interesting ways to try to get people to go higher, but I like more the idea of trying to keep everything pretty equal, and I kind of feel like people will support me at the tier that they can, And I trust that people want to support me if they're in the Patreon. And if they can go higher, then they will.
Right.
And I don't want to be come on,
Yeah.
But most people do. So there's nothing wrong with that. And man, I give enough lessons in my real life. So I want to keep the Patreon all about the art.
Right. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love it. And I'm so happy that you're a part of it. And I will ask, is your hair purple?
No, it's not purple. This video camera sucks. And I'm
It's
laughing
so
that you
cool.
said that because last year I did a thing with some friends. It was a gaming stream. And that was sort of the ongoing joke about my purple hair with this laptop. I don't know what, I've played with the settings on it and everything. And it doesn't matter what room I'm in, what kind of light it is, it always comes out purple. But that's kind of cool. I had it dyed like a really cool shade of red earlier this year.
I remember.
But that's long gone. So.
Hilarious. Well, you'll get to see it after. I don't know what it is, but I love it. Yeah, it's a really nice, beautiful purple color.
Yeah. I do not have purple hair.
For the record, Flo does
Yes.
not have purple hair.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's
Sure, no problem.
interesting.
I
Yeah,
think this is a great idea.
awesome. Well, and of course, thank you so much for being a supportive member of my Patreon and just like being my friend and hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look forward to maybe having a guitar hang with you soon too.
Yeah, so we'll have to do collaborating at some point too. And good luck with everything getting situated, and that's a big step.
Cool. I know, I'm excited and scared, but it's like excitement and scared are like the same thing, you know? So I'm just trying to lean towards the excitement.
Yeah.
So
And we moved 11 years ago. In fact, it's 11 years ago this month we bought the house that we're living in now, after living in the same one for quite a long time. And it's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, it was a good thing at the time.
Yeah.
And I've never had any regrets. So
good. Yeah, I've been in this space for 8 years. I've been like on the fence about leaving for so long, and now I'm just like, you know what? You have to go with it, because there's nothing worse than just like being indecisive. It's the worst feeling.
Yeah.
So.
And I think for like you said, your career, it's where you need to be now.
Yes. Okay, I have the Flo approval.
The Flo approval stamp.
All right, my friend. You have a great weekend, okay?
You too.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon, my love.
Take care.
Okay.